Are you a war criminal?
Of course I don't believe that.
Why have I done this? Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Oh no, it's absolutely horrific. So the last time we were here, we were painting our glorious leader, Sir Keir Starmer, as a Genestealer cult prime magus. And I put this shots up out on the interwebs and got some interesting reactions. Some people said he looked like John Lithgow, which I'm looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, fair enough. And some people...
Darkroom, this week's work, and the... Oh god. Lovely. I can't. This is beautiful. This is really, really nicely done. Sorry. Oh, Jesus Christ, for a second. Oh, shit.
So yeah, sorry about that, Millie. But I think that's really an interesting reaction, actually. Certainly the kind of reaction I was hoping to elicit when putting this horrific set of models together. Sadly, despite Spear Miniature's absolutely awesome sculpt work on the Keir Starmer head, it wasn't immediately apparent who this person was if you didn't read the caption. So when we get on to the next part of our UK Genestealer cult project, we want to make sure we want to be hitting this one home. So who do you think could go on the head of a Genestealer Patriarch? Who in British politics embodies the qualities of a Genestealer Patriarch? Manipulative, secretive, underhanded, an unknowable evil, reaching a dark claw out from beyond the stars. Anthony Charles Linton Blair first guffed his ideological spore cloud onto the fertile minds of the British public all the way back in the year of our Lord 1997. He ruled for 1,000,000 years with his cyclopean life mate Gordon Brown until the enders squabbling over the remote control brought their eternal right crashing down in 2010. During that time we saw wars, spin,
I'll tell you.
and the creation of the most haunting series of Christmas cards ever to curse the human eye. Ugh. You know, I think I've seen that face before, slapped on the head of my sleep paralysis demon as it crouches over my prone and helpless form at 4 in the morning. Since leaving office, Blair has unfurled his slimy tendrils to penetrate civic institutions all over the world like some kind of horrific geopolitical anime monster.
Hentai too.
In between lucrative speaking engagements and planning his next crime against the greeting card industry, Tony has built his own synaptic network of NGOs, initiatives, and think tanks, all bent on extending his fell influence over an unsuspecting globe. His institutional reforms have completely undermined the sovereignty of the British Parliament, and sweeping changes to the demographic and cultural character of the UK brought about by New Labour's immigration and foreign policy continue to cause widespread disruption, demolishing public trust in the institutions and turning everyday life into a grim parody mashup between the Hunger Games and Where's Bloody Wally? Cross, all a bit much, innit? Maybe an ad break will cheer you up.
Hello there. Do you like models? No, not that kind of model. Miniatures are what I mean. Do you need a model but lack the time in your busy schedule to paint it? Or maybe you just want one but are too lazy, too cool, or lack the requisite level of autism to make your dreams reality? Well, you're in luck, friend, because Dark Lord Minis has got you covered. Harnessing the power of insomnia and unrealized childhood dreams, we are a reliable miniature painting service offering professional quality without breaking that piggy bank. Whether it's your standard kit or some unholy product of your sick, twisted, awful imagination, we offer design, 3D printing, and conversion services to drag your dark dreams into our physical plane. So get in touch today for a free quotation, slide into our DMs on Instagram and Facebook, or do it the old-fashioned way with a email at darkroomminis@gmail.com. Darkroom Minis, we sort of care about you. Not really.
interpretations available on request. Turnaround time not included. This message was brought to you by the Lead Paint and Lobotomies Corporation Incorporated.
What are you doing here again?
I need another one.
Dude, we can't be doing this anymore. You know what happened last time.
I know it was wrong, and I'm sorry, but I need another one.
All right. I'll take a look at this. What are we doing here?
I need this guy.
That guy.
Yeah,
I don't like that guy.
no one does.
All right, we got that guy. But you don't want him like that guy.
I need you to do it like this.
Oh, no.
Please, man. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made your mum cry. Yeah, and old Tone. Been in the news a fair bit recently, hasn't he, as it happens? Yes, the Dark Lord materialised from the shadow in the warp recently in a video from his Institute for Global Change, admitting the kind of desperation normally reserved for people fruitlessly begging for a consultant's appointment on an oversubscribed NHS oncology ward. Instead, Tony can be seen pleading with us to accept digital IDs so that no area of your life will be free from scrutiny by the hive mind of the British state. I mean, there's just something a bit sad about this. I mean, listen to him.
Police forces are also ditching outdated systems for cloud-based platforms, giving officers real-time access to data and to smarter tools.
The guy sounds scared, like there's a Rothschild just behind the camera with a puppy holding a revolver to its head saying, tell them, Tony, tell them again. And he does mean again, because every time there's some kind of national crisis, a crisis the government either cause or exacerbate, I might add, the answer to our prayers seems to be the same. Rampant fraud? Digital IDs. COVID-19? Digital IDs. Immigration crisis? Sing it with me. And it's always Tony. And it's only Tony. What does he want? Why does he want this so bad? No one else wants this outside of his circle of bland marionettes. Why? Well, we know why, don't we? To facilitate efficient biomass processing at the reclamation pools when the High Fleet turns up, of course. And then something happened that really kicked this project into gear. I woke from my nightly coma one morning, checked the news, and the news for that day was that the new Prime Minister of Gaza is going to be Tony Blair. So not only do we have an ex-PM from the country that caused this whole rotten mess in the first place, we have the very same leader that led us into an unjust war in the Middle East that claimed thousands of lives. Having him be the new Prime Minister of Gaza is like electing a prize-winning butcher to be the new leader of the vegan society. Yeah, no, we got to do something about this. Got to do something about this. Hang on.
What? Again? I told you not to call me anymore, man. We're not doing this anymore.
I give you triple the normal fee.
I hate you, man.
I know. I hate me too. So I waited. Had a little sleepy, scratched my bum for a bit, did some painting, scratched my bum a bit more, and then the goods finally dropped. And oh my god. Absolutely smashed it, dude. Absolutely smashed it. Should add at this point that Spear Miniatures is actually a bloody nice bloke. I made him say all those things, like the exploitative bastard I am. Right, well now we're a whole 9 minutes and 4 seconds into this painting video. I suppose we better do some bloody painting, hadn't we? But first, I want us to play a little game. Yes, you see, because I possess the organisational power of a particularly thick amoeba, I filmed the entire painting process before even attempting to write a script and didn't think about boring continuity when filming any of these cutaway shots. So what I want you to do is imagine with your
Sick, twisted, awful imagination
that this completed model is actually the not completed model that you see in the close-up shots. So this is this. This is this. This is this. Got it? It's easy, really. All you have to do is pretend, you know, like we've all been pretending I've been painting a Space Marine for the last 10 minutes. Good. Okay, and the game starts now.
Next week's work I cannot wait.
Maybe we should have waited, because we're about to embark on the journey of bringing the most stomach-churning Warhammer model ever to blight these 3 dimensions, kicking and screaming, straight from the bottom of the uncanny valley. Ugh. First up, we need to do the kit bash. Now, for any of you poor sods who blithely wandered in here thinking you were going to watch a video about the sodding news or something, a kit bash is where we get expensive plastic toys and completely fuck them up with a craft knife and super glue. Kind of like some demented toddler deity pissing about with a packet of blue tack. I partially assemble the main body and mess about with some different poses. I'm looking for that perfect "your high fleet needs you" energy. You know, I did have a placeholder image here cooked up by Toaster GPT. I got told off for using AI as a concept artist in a previous video. Since doing a bit of actual research and learning how these robots scrape data from actual meat artists, I completely sympathise with that position. So instead, I want you to imagine with your
Imagination.
that the Lord Kitchener poster from World War I has Tony's grinning chops slapped in there instead. In future, I would actually like to use a meat person to cook this sort of thing up for me. So if you happen to be an unemployed 2D artist and don't mind being woken up by ridiculous design briefs at knobhead o'clock in the morning, I promise you will be poorly compensated for your time. I checked the many grinning Tony mugs I printed to find the right size and made my preparations for surgery. Brain surgery as it happens, as we have to swap a swollen cerebellum full of evil anti-human lives with the head of a Genestealer Patriarch. As it turns out, Temu hobby clippers aren't a great tool for the aspiring neurosurgeon, so I break out my suggestively named Wow Stick and give this Patriarch a hearty squick. Don't. Once I've done all 3 holes, I can jam my rusty pincers right down to the pituitary gland and start gleefully chopping off grey matter like a ravenous Robert Maudsley. Don't. Once our orifice is looking respectable, we can make like a lonely night in Soho and get the grinder out. The burring bit this Diaspy sanding pen comes packaged with is like a magic wand for a kit basher. You can effectively draw holes onto your models this way, and not like you did that time you got banned from Games Workshop for your enthusiastic take on Slaneshi cultists, you pervert. The burring process, however, does kick up a fine choking cloud of plastic dust, which I'm now breathing in.
So wear a mask.
Or don't. Honestly, who gives a shit anymore? Maybe the sweet relief of microplastic-induced lung failure is the only escape from Tony's eternal centrist utopia. When I'm done considering the feasibility of chronic bronchitis, I get Tone's leering bonds jammed into my hole and briefly create a model of history's most horrifying spermatozoa. I slap everything else together, making sure to swap round the 2 right arms so that Tony's mind control fingers can reach up to his temple. This was probably a mistake, as it seemed to activate the model as some kind of plastic Palantir stone, transmitting the Dark Lord's corrupting influence straight into my camera and completely buggering up my capture card. The creepy thing was, other models didn't seem to affect it. It was only when Tony's hungry grin found the lens that the Eye of Sauron worked its debased magics and left haunting imprints on the image. Thankfully, I could still record directly to the SD card in the camera, but then I was faced with the overheating issues that plagued the early A-series cameras, turning the whole filming process into a great big pain in the arse. Thanks, Tony, you massive
There's this company called Games Workshop who make these little plastic men called the Warhammers. It's a bit like chess, but for people who think chess needs more chainsaws and less deodorant. Like any drug addiction, the Warhammers is a surprisingly expensive hobby. They call it plastic crack because you start out buying 1 box of little blue space fascists. 6 months down the line, you're remortgaging your mum's house to buy a resin robot the size of a human child. Despite milking whales harder than some kind of aquatic Mia Khalifa, Games Workshop decided they didn't have enough money, So they went full zero tolerance on the internet, like an angry dad pulling the Wi-Fi because he didn't do the washing up. See, clever boffins on YouTube were making their own cartoons, which were better than the official ones, which usually look like a cutscene from a pirated PS2 game. There was this one called If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, which sounds like a stroke, but it was actually a comedy about the skeleton god of humanity complaining about his own government. No, not that one. Yeah, that one. It was funny. It had millions of views. And naturally, Games Workshop looked at this thriving community, this kernel of joy in an otherwise hopeless online fucking shit show, and went, no, fuck it off. Fuck it off right now. They didn't even send a lawyer. They just made a policy change that was so vaguely threatening that the bloke who created the thing, a geezer called Alpha Booser, put the whole thing on indefinite hiatus, which is internet speak for I don't want to be sued into having to sell my kidneys.
Time to actually do some painting. I get my prime coat down in Molotov Signal Black, which isn't, as the name suggests, some kind of improvised insurgency weapon, but is instead a lovely black priming paint used by earnest Banksy types in their artsy-fartsy vandalism cannons. Now, because I'm nothing if not a massive, filthy hack, I use this recipe I found on PaintPad as a jumping off point for the paint scheme. It comes from Rookie Brushes and there's a natty little box art number, so you should go and give them a like, or a follow, or whatever it is they do on PaintPad. Oh, it's a star. Well, in that case, take your cursors over to PaintPad and tickle Rookie Brushes' star. First up is an all-over base coat of Kantar Blue and Abaddon Black. For the uninitiated, Games Workshop's very own paint line Citadel has this utterly obtuse naming convention that only makes sense if you've got a master's degree in Warhammer lore. For example, black is Abaddon Black, because in 40k, Abaddon is the leader of the Black Legion. Yellow is Flash Gets Yellow, because that's the colour Warhammer TV's animation director turns when they think about Space King. And Screaming Bell, well, probably best not to worry about that. Just keep applying the cream before bed.
Damn.
Once the base coat is dry, I start teasing some Abaddon Black into all of Tony's crevices, then do an all-over glaze with some thinned-down Kantar Blue. A glaze is where you lovingly apply vaguely coloured water to your model again and 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 again. With enough time, this should give you some nice gradients, but it can be jolly time consuming, so maybe put a video on in the background. I hear this chap's rather good. Time to use a paint now whose name actually makes sense, with some Genestealer Purple. I use Eshin Grey to darken this down in a 3-to-1 mix instead of the Warp Fiend Grey that Rookie Brushes used, but only because Eshin is the grey that I had, and realistically, what is the sodding difference between these two? I hit the hands, the neck, the chitinous depressions on the back, and the ridges in Tony's terrifying prehensile penis.
There's this massive sci-fi universe set in the future, about 40,000 years in the future, which is why they call it Warhammer 40,000 and not, say, Warhammer 20/4. In this future, things have gone a bit tits up. Humanity is spread across the stars, but instead of living in luxury gay space communism like Star Trek, everyone's just really cross all the time and everything looks like a cathedral made out of skulls. The main bloke in charge is called the Emperor. He's this godlike man who united humanity by being really good at war and having a nice golden chair. He's got this lad called Horus, which sounds like a medical condition, but it's really one of the many names GW stole from places and people too old to sue him. Horus decides he didn't fancy being told what to do, so he teams up with his twin brother and a few others to start a war called the Gorgeous Heresy. Horus loses, obviously, because the story wouldn't work otherwise, but he injures the Emperor so badly that he's stuck on the toilet for 10,000 years. Technically alive, but only just, like Mary Berry. Since then, the galaxy's been a bit of a mess. There are aliens everywhere, demons popping out of a parallel Doncaster dimension called the Warp, and the Imperium of Man is run by a mixture of religious nutters, who are the good girls, fascists, who are the good guys, fighting against lads who just accept the flawed nature of the human condition in its various fail states. They're the bad guys.
For the sewerage policy pipeline Tony's been perched on for his entire political career, I wanted to show you a little trick I've discovered recently for painting true metallic metals. I love the metal colour range of airbrush paints from Vallejo, but as they are airbrush paints, they tend to be a lot thinner and can be harder to control than kids on a rainy day after a bucket of Haribo. I usually mix in a corresponding colour from the Citadel range to thicken them up, but as I am a perpetually lazy beast, sometimes the titanic effort required to open another pot of paint escapes me. I found it's easier to get a big dollop of it on the palette, wait 10 minutes for the pigments to separate, then simply wick away the excess medium in the manner of a boarding school pupil desperately trying to make the biscuit more appetizing. Don't. This gives me a lovely, vibrant metallic paint that I can use to cover this pipe smoothly in one thick coat, just like your mum's face. I want to tie the pipe into the base, so I use some primary school concrete and decanted beach and get some texture down to blend the shapes together. Once I give the sand a base coat in Mornfang Brown, I decide I need even more deconstructed glass on there, so while that's drying, we can darken the Dark Lord's bulk even further with some washes. I chuck some Druchii Violet all over Tony's quivering purple parts, being sure to wick away any excess spooge as it pulls towards the bottom. I then crack out my oil paints for some DIY Dirty Down, which sounds like a masturbation gag, but it isn't. So there. Moving on, this old tube of burnt sienna will be perfect for grunging up Tony's pipe. The aged pigments separate and clump, giving us the kind of lovely rust effects you might find in the UK's charming but economically irrelevant northern seaside towns. Time to do some lines, and not the kind that would normally be snorted off laminated manifestos in Westminster toilets. I slowly work my way around Tony's crinkled heft with Sotek green, which isn't a green, it's a blue. Unless I flunked that part of the Law Master's exam as well. Edge highlighting can almost be as much eye-grating labour as glazing is, so I whack on a little drum and bass and have myself a little labour party. Really, I'm just prolonging the inevitable, as I know what's coming next.
Then there was Astartes. Masterpiece. Probably the best bit of sci-fi in like 10 years. One bloke in New Zealand, the whole thing. Gritty, rough, ready, showed the Space Marines doing what they do best. Ruthless efficiency. Games Workshop saw this and thought, oh, we can't have that. That's too good. It makes us look bad. So they hired the bloke. It's nice, innit? Fairy tale ended, but they immediately locked all his shit behind a paywall, put it in a cupboard, and stuck it on their own streaming service. Warhammer Plus. Yeah, Warhammer Plus. Imagine Netflix, right? But take away Stranger Things and Squid Game and all the films and replace it with 3 cartoons, a PDF of a magazine from 2004, and a bloke painting a goblin very slowly. That's Warhammer TV. It costs £5 a fucking month, and the entire content library can be watched in the time it takes to boil an egg.
How to paint a face like Tone's. How does one improve upon the Lord Almighty's most unsettling work of art? Tony's face is like a dark symphony, every element working in unison to accentuate the crescendo of that predator smile. I get the full idea I want the face underlit in red, like an Amsterdam hostess doing a handstand, so I tape off his jowl with some 6mm Tamiya tape. I coat Tony's chin with a blast of I coat Tony's chin with a blast of flat white, thinned down with 99% isopropyl alcohol. I'm resisting constantly the urge to down the whole bottle in an attempt to erase the last 25 years of British politics. Once we've got a strong white down, I load up with some fluorescent red from Vallejo. See? That is how you name a paint, Citadel. Fluorescent red. It's a red. It's fluorescent. Fluorescent red. Not Fulgrim's arousal or some bollocks like that. Because fluorescent paint is thinner than the justification for digital IDs, I need about 800 layers to get a nice popping red, but it's worth it to frame the features with the ruby-like glow of a Demon Primarch's favour. I guess that does kind of work. Next up, the skin tones. Or skin tone, if you will. Which unfortunately isn't an instruction. I start with some Bugman's Glow, which sounds disgusting, like something you'd have to see a specialist for. I darken it with some Eshin Grey, giving a nice desaturated base coat for that undead chic. Sadly, blacking out the mouth doesn't silence the whispers, but it does give me a nice blank canvas to paint Tony's pearly white gnashes. Hair and eyebrows get a base coat in Dark Reaper, and thank the Dark Lord that these eyes are scaled up. I just finished a job doing the Kill Team starter set, and the eyes on those things were so small they were basically theoretical. Painting these peepers felt like whitewashing footballs in comparison. Shame it's the peepers on this particular face. The Dark Lord extended his influence once again as I work up the flesh tones. I had wanted to keep things desaturated to contrast the red, but my cramping mitts reached for the saturated Cadian flesh tone like a thrall, with a YouTube buffering symbol spinning in my eyes instead. By the time Tony's psychic rohypnol had worn off, the damage was already done. I want a high-impact comic book look on Tony's leering aspect, so I take my time here as I work around the unholy glow, looking for some sharp separation. You know, like the separation between his public persona and his bank account, or the separation between what Tony says and what Tony means. I scrub the gazelle out of Tony's incisors before giving them a quick highlight. Then, because I'm a lazy f***wit, I opt to snipe the Dark Lord's pupils with a fine liner pen instead of a brush, you know, like a proper painter would. It was at this moment I realised I had made a terrible, terrible mistake. I have given him sight, and now, rather than looking at him, he's looking at me. Those hungry eyes are going to sit there now, silently desiring my double-cheeked biomass for the rest of this project. His burning gaze will follow me round the room relentlessly as he takes note of the prime cuts of meat that constitute my highly chiselled and athletic form. I make a mental note not to do anything I wouldn't want a Russian webcam hacker to bribe me with, and move on to Tony's mane. The Dark Lord is getting on a bit now and hasn't quite consumed enough souls to keep the grey at bay, so I pick out his tips in pale blue grey from Vallejo. That buffering symbol finally stops whirling, and I realise my mistake with the skin tones. Switching to Rakart flesh is much more fitting for his profane countenance, so I take a bit of time picking out the furrows on Tony's brow. I heard a new one appeared every time he ordered an airstrike. And then it's done. The worst face I've ever painted. Not in terms of execution, I'm happy with that. It keeps blinking at me.
But it's not just the big obvious wars with tanks and skulls. The real danger, just like on Earth, comes from ideas and experts. This is where the Genestealer cults come in. It's basically a massive intergalactic pyramid scheme, but instead of direct shakes, they're selling the end of the world. It starts when one alien, a Genestealer, turns up on a planet. He's the original globalist. He finds a local, gives them what's called a genetic kiss, which is a bit like a normal kiss, but instead of swapping spit, you swap your entire species. The first bloke, the one who's being kissed, starts a family, and his kids are a bit weird. Lumpy, purple, maybe an extra arm. Their kids, they look a little bit more normal. And their kids look almost perfectly human. And what do these perfectly normal looking alien hybrids do? They go to university. They go get jobs in the media. They join the council. They become a nudge unit for the apocalypse. They are the ultimate fifth column, which is a Roman number for a very long queue of traitors. They don't go around shouting hooray for aliens. They're cleverer than that. They just suggest things. They write articles in the Imperial Herald saying it's the Emperor really working for you. Isn't the government a bit fascist? They get jobs in academia and teach everyone that the whole system's problematic and needs tearing down. They nudge everyone into believing that true liberation is just around the corner. They tell everyone they're oppressed. They whisper that a star god's coming to save them. A lovely four-armed god who loves them and will make everything fair. And then, after decades of this, they make their move. The day of inauguration, or ascension, one of the two. All the activist drones, the academics, the journalists, and the weirdos in the sewers all rise up, all at once. They overthrow the government, open the gates, and wait for their globalist space daddy to arrive and give them a cuddle. And the space gods do turn up. An entire sky full of them. Billions of massive, hungry space bugs called tyrannies. And the very first thing they do is eat the cult. Every single one. The professors, the activists, the folk who started it all of them slurped up like a bowl of tasty soup by the leaders that they worship. But just goes to show, if a man with a PhD and a suspiciously good vocabulary tells you to tear everything down, he probably just thinks you look delicious. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Time for a bit of feature creep now, as I try and figure out how I'm going to get a digital ID card in Tony's iron grasp. I mull it over for a bit before deciding that in reality I'm a talentless rube and should probably go and ask a real artist.
Dark Room, what's going on, man?
I'm working on this utter abomination.
I wasn't quite ready for that.
Sorry about that.
That's pretty special.
Yeah, that's not the word I'd use. Oh, and your capture card's probably buggered by now. Anyway, I'm trying to work out how I can have a digital ID card suspended in his upturned hand.
Trying to work out how I can have a digital ID card suspended in his upturned hand.
Yes, that's what I said.
I mean, get a little piece of plastic card and cut it down.
Maybe.
It'd be so tiny, though.
Yeah, that's what my wife says.
It'd be so small. Would it even be really worth going through all that?
All right. As I battle through my ingrained inadequacy, a thought flashes up from the inky black of my subconscious. I consumed an entire shipping container of reels by El Miniaturista while making my Legion of the Damned video, and there was one special effect in there that really stuck in my hippocampus. This awesome servitor tentatively scanning a diminutive Scottish space miner is a great little flourish, so let's demonstrate that abject hackery once again and see if we can repurpose this idea to create a large holoscreen of some kind. The Dark Lord wants us to have our IDs on our phones, and in the Warhammer lexicon, a mobile phone is called an Auspex, a handheld communication device with a screen that looks like a cross between a baby's rattle and an uncomfortable rectal probe. Maybe we can have a little hologram ID card projecting up out of the screen, like Princess Leia, just with more totalitarianism. So, Brush, what about having it project up like a hologram?
Like to have it projecting up out like basically like a hologram.
Yes, that's what I said.
Oh, okay. I see. I thought you were just like wanting to be hold like almost like a little like ID card. What you're talking about, kind of like, okay, I see what you're talking about. I can see why you'd want to do it that way. That way you can kind of sculpt it and then have like a little like. I'm thinking about how I would approach it, not telling you how you should approach it, just to be very clear. Don't always be careful with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're all good, mate. I'm creatively bankrupt at this point anyway.
I think that I would probably like.
Yeah.
You know, and then like you make like little styrene like data pod thing like that, and then just have like actually cut this part out here.
Yep.
That way you can kind of just paint like little hologram fluoro stuff on there like that.
Okay.
It's kind of how I would approach it.
Sounds like a plan.
I think it's actually a really cool idea, Dark Room.
Oh, thanks. And I definitely came up with it all by myself.
Then there's the Henry Cavill thing. You know Henry Cavill. Superman, The Witcher. Looks like it was carved out of hand by Michelangelo. He loves the stuff. He paints the little blokes. He talks about it in interviews, all while the journalist sits there and nods and tries not to fancy it. Cavill got offered loads of money by this sentient boat to make a show where the little men are big and made of meat instead of being made out of dead dinosaurs. But he's threatening to walk from the show now because Amazon and Games Workshop allegedly want to put female space marines in it. And look, I know what the internet's like. The moment you say, maybe don't change the law, you get shouted at by a mob of people who think men as a concept is a hate crime. But Henry's right. It's the principle of the thing. Space Marines are blokes. Big, sweaty, genetically modified steroid monsters. That's the law. It's been written down since the 80s. Demanding female Space Marines is like demanding a remake of Pride and Prejudice, where Mr. Darcy is a brooding monster truck. It doesn't make sense. And the annoying thing is, they've already got a great female faction. The Sisters of Battle. Crusade LARPing Catholic meme bros love them. Cosplay thirst trap queens love them. They're literally nuns with flamethrowers. They wear power armor, they've got tanks that double as church organs, and they go burning heretics while singing hymns. They are terrifying and the coolest thing in the set. Why isn't that enough? Why do we need to stick a wig on a Space Marine? Who's this for? Who even wants this? Well, it's these activist tourists, isn't it? People who don't buy the models, don't paint the little men, don't read the books, don't engage with the law. They just turn up on Twitter and complain that the dystopian fascist nightmare isn't inclusive enough, and try and ruin it for the lads who've been doing this for 30 years. These seething, spiteful mutants are hell-bent on diminishing male spaces. You can't have a shed anymore. You can't just sit in a room and grunt with other men while looking at plastic tanks. No, someone's got to come in and put up soft furnishings. 40k is meant to be grimdark. It's in the name. It's miserable. It's war. It's industrial grind and skulls. It's Swansea, but these tourists want to turn it into some kind of anime fanfic porno. They want Space Marines to stop purging aliens and start talking about their feelings and baking cupcakes. It's supposed to be a cathartic escape into a universe where everything is awful. If I wanted a franchise stripped of its masculinity and turned into bland, safe corporate sludge, I'd just go and watch the new Star Wars. Henry, mate, if you watch him, don't back down. Keep the nuns with guns, keep the Space Marines of blokes, and tell Boatface to
Time to snip out a little invisible Dorito. I also dig around in some kits for an Auspex and find this little back tickler in the Kazakin kit. I'm ecstatic to find nestled in with it a sheet of transfers with the exact letters that I need. ID. This will mean I won't have to freehand the letters like a real painter. Happy days, it was meant to be. We use the same technique here as we did on the red glow illuminating Tony's kisser, laying down a coat of white first with a nice gradient, then tinting with fluoro. Fluoro blues are generally the worst of the fluoro paints, weaker than Keir Starmer's public speaking and more transparent than a post-atrocity nudge unit campaign. The transparency is a plus here, however, as our white gradients provide an eerie glow to our holographic cattle brand. Because I don't want it to look like a fucking road sign, I fluff up the edges with a little forget juice on a Q-tip before getting my cheetah's transfers in place. I add the mandatory skull that you have to have on everything in 40k by law. Isn't that right, Erectus?
Oh, how many skulls do you have?
Just one at the moment. Maybe a few more scattered around Tony's pipe.
Well, no, you need more.
How many more?
Just more.
I'll spare you the 4 hours of footage it took to clip and sand down just more skulls, but pretty soon I have a pile of occipital bones big enough to rival any late night Davos dinner party. I find these sweet charnel flags from Jim Rodder on the excellent My Mini Factory, which instead of being a Caribbean silent performance artist in an industrial building, is in fact a website where you can download awesome 3D printer files. These tattered little banners will serve great as the flags of Tony's conquered realms. I get a little green stuff, yes, that's his actual name, and start laying down the Dark Lord's trophies. Once this pile of bleached calcium reaches a law-approved height, it's time for some more Fulgrim's arousal. So I gunk on some flat white, then tint it with the requisite bucket of fluoro red to create the residual life energy glow of Tony's lunch. At this point, I've already whacked some shots on my Discord. Yeah, I have a Discord server. Don't. Our server's resident meme farmer and mini painting pasta master Zerkiel had remarked that there wasn't enough Dutch ambience on the model, and on reflection I think he might be right. Guess I have to paint over hours of work that I didn't need to do now as I extend the glow up Tony's undercarriage and spindly legs. Speaking of the Dark Lord's pins, I came across some pretty interesting stories about old Tone when I was studying politics at university. Yes, there I was in my innocent university days, back when the world made sense, about 3 years ago, innocently pursuing information about the alleged shady backroom dealings between our mate Tony and Palpatine Tortoise cosplay Rupert Murdoch. Apparently Murdoch had basically won the Dark Lord's first election for him back in 1997, trading access to Downing Street for backing in the press. But during the course of the dull politics essay I was writing, I came across some utterly salacious, alleged allegations, allegedly, concerning Matey Boy having a bit of a thing with Palpatine's wife. And when I say a bit of a thing, I don't mean they were just sharing tips on how to manage their vast unholy influence over the planet. No, the allegation is that Blair was allegedly having private meetups with Wendy Deng, Rupert Murdoch's wife, in Murdoch's own bloody house. Ugh. Allegedly, media hype goblins at Vanity Fair then got hold of passages from Deng's diary, and they read like the hot new monster romance novel doing the rounds on TikTok.
Because he's so charming, and his clothes are so good, pierced blue eyes, which I love his eyes. Also, I love his power. He has such a good body, and he has really good legs and butt. And what else? And what else? And what else?
Ooh. Oh. Surely the most frustrated proto-middle-aged woman on the planet couldn't factor that. Makes Morning Glory Milking Club sound like Sense and Sensibility. The mention of legs is particularly disturbing to me, as I always assumed he glides around on a force field of pure hate so much. His legs had long since shriveled to atrophied branches, scratching around on the inside of his trousers. Oh, and just to make the whole thing worse, Tony is godfather to one of Rupert and Wendy's children. What a So, that horrifying tangent on Tony's really good legs aside, once the uncreated light of the Dark Lord's majesty was sufficiently mucked all up his underbits, it was time to do some more lines. Now, because it's always advisable not to do all your lines at once, you'll see me flitting about in my ADHD trance between white and the green that's not a blue, or the blue that's not a green. Ugh, I can't even tell anymore. I also start to add the finishing touches to our cursed offerings. Flags go on, and because Tony wouldn't care, I pay no attention to whether the Union flag is the right way round or not. Standard red, white and blue, but I did have to add a drop of yellow to Caliban green on the Palestine flag's green to get the right hue. That would be BBC yellow, because that's the colour the BBC turn every time the IDF start a new offensive. But just look at this mountain of bonces. There's no sodding way I'm doing this manually for all of them. I'm not some kind of Victorian workhouse child. Well, that's a lie actually. I'm almost exactly like a Victorian workhouse child, poorly compensated and coughing up poison dust for the amusement of my betters. Please sir, may I have some more microplastics? Like a complete and utter noob, I opt for a healthy overbrush with a damp dry brush, before working up the layers with a more conventional size 2, just so I can pretend that I do actually have some standards. Time to do some more lines. And not the kind that Michael Gove would jot down in his diary before buggering off to do some cocaine. Allegedly. I want a blue glow on Tony's temple as well as his mind control fingers, all the better to psychically nudge you into accepting another pointless war. I carefully apply a base of white followed by a tint of fluoro blue with the airbrush. For our Auspex arm, I want to accurately reflect the experience of a UK citizen, so let's get a bit of gore on there, as though this poor guardsman's arm's been ripped clean off by Tony in his eagerness to check his digital ID. I get a blob of superglue on a glass surface and sacrifice an old brush to the dark gods by mixing in some blood for the blood god. This unholy mixture will very quickly start to cure, so I pull out strands from the rapidly setting goop and cut them down until I have something looking like bloody sinew. Once I'm happy, or more accurately, once I've given up, I glue everything in place and add some final white edges to the hologram. I draw some very thin lines to the edge to give the impression of tracking lines on the projection, as well as adding a bit more white to the source point. A blob of glue on the Auspex screen and our digital ID is ready for integration into the synaptic network of the hive mind's assimilation swarm. Which, let's be honest, is just what they're calling the Home Office database these days. I tint some of our white edges blue, get the mind control hand in place, and oh look, a small dot of white in the centre of the temple will sell the glow. I give the base a final blast with black to hide any overspray and all the other evidence of my crimes, and then it's on to what only charitably could be called the glamour shots.
I'm going to pause for a moment, guys, if that's all right, because we've got some other breaking news tonight, and this is for Westminster involving the UK government and their plans for digital ID cards. John Craig, our chief political correspondent, is with us. John, I remember not that long ago, sat on this very chair announcing that the government were going to bring in digital ID cards, mandatory for all workers. Has this now been ditched?
Looks like it. It was September. The Prime Minister made a big speech at a conference of progressives, and where he talked tough in that speech there. He said, "You will not be able to work in the UK if you don't have a digital ID. It's as simple as that. The scheme would make it tougher to work illegally in this country, making our borders more secure." Now, he was selling it as a crackdown on illegal immigration. He said that a secure border and controlled migration are reasonable demands. And he talked about benefits and so on. But now, a U-turn. Although the government says it's still committed to the concept of ID cards.
Yeah, it turns out this video took so long to edit, it couldn't quite keep up with the reeling policy circus of Keir Starmer's government. Here we are, not 5 months later, and the 13th U-turn of this Labour administration is walking back the mandatory to work part of the UK's digital ID scheme. So, that's it. We won, right? Well, sorry to be a bit of an old stick in the mud, but no. Yeah, you see, fantastic amounts of your money has already been spent on this. Yes, there's the 8 million to Camp Gemini, 17.5 million to PA Consulting, 17.5 million to iProve, 18 million to Experian, 22 million to Accenture, and a whopping 77 million pounds to Deloitte, all taxpayer money and every penny being spent to build and maintain the UK's digital IT architecture. Now, call me a cynical old... most people do, but I'm going to go on record and predict that once all of this infrastructure has been put in place, quietly, of course, away from the gaze of a now placated public, all it will take is a flick of a switch to bring it all online, probably after the UK's next inevitable atrocity. The current walkback is like a serial killer promising to use a slightly duller knife. He sounds helpful, but it will just make things hurt more in the long run. Ultimately, these ID cards just aren't very English. We English are private people. Well, when we're not broadcasting our haunted potato of a face all over the internet, that is. We don't want bureaucrats nosing around trying to cram all the messy analogue parts of our souls into some easily hackable spreadsheet. Yeah, because what could possibly go wrong putting all of our personal data into a digital vault guarded by the same level of IT competency that gave you the NHS COVID app? No, these ID cards have such a high potential for abuse, they should be met with total frothing resistance at every available opportunity. Sadly, I didn't have any barrels of gunpowder. What I do have at my disposal, however, is a powerful set of myths. These aren't the noble legends of my ancestors. No, these are the myths of Warhammer 40,000. These stories are understood the world over by neckbeards and nerds, providing a fertile ground for satire. Of course, using a myth for satire is a tale as old as, well, the Divine Comedy, Dante's self-insert fan fiction about the afterlife, or Paradise Lost, Milton's attempt at making Satan look cool, or the Canterbury Tales, a medieval bus ride full of filth. Now, I'm not suggesting I stand up next to these great writers or anything like that. Realistically, all I've done is add a third dimension and some skulls. I think we need it, don't we? We need a bit of a laugh. Yeah, we need a bit of a laugh to distract us from the fact our entire identities are being uploaded to a cloud managed by a distracted call centre worker called Rajesh. Essentially, what I've been trying to do here is something akin to 3D shit posting, because I feel like that's a gap in the market, maybe. And do you know what? It was a lot of fun. Pretty cathartic, actually. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Maybe you should try 3D shit posting for yourself. I guarantee you will have a laugh. Well, I hope you all like the new approach I went with on this video. Any wickle zoomers might not have picked up on it, but if you're a wizened, jaded old Gen Xer like myself from the UK, you might have noticed that this is my scruffy, half-assed love letter to the venerable old screen wipe shows. Misanthropic snark merchant Charlie Brooker pumped a load of these shows out in the noughties before he buggered off to make the Twilight Zone again. And I was always sad to see their passing, so I thought I'd be the change I want to see in the world, I suppose, and look at me. Of course, the problem with writing in someone else's voice is that you're constantly plagued by the fear that rather than writing things, you are in fact inadvertently remembering them. I passed the finished script through every robotic brain I could get my grubby little free trial on, and Skynet seemed to think it was okay. Of course, these toasters tend to be a bit thick, and sadly, without wading through Brooker's entire 80-hour oeuvre, it's impossible to tell for certain. But I'm sure any comment section savants will be very quick to point out if I've erred from homage into outright plagiarism, and if that does end up being the case, I promise to take the £20 this video is sure to make, put it in an envelope, and send it to the big man himself so he can put it right on top of his big pile of Netflix money. One thing I will say is that even trying to do a scruffy version of the screen wipe approach was actually a colossal amount of work. I completed the paint job in October of 2025, and I wanted to get the video up by Halloween. Halloween of 2025 was when this was supposed to come out. Oh, God. Yeah, once the vaulting ambition of the creator had dissipated, this video ended up taking 5 months, and it broke me. I thought about re-recording the intro halfway through, but I thought I'd leave it there because I want you to see the trajectory as I descend into madness. Go on, go back to the start now. I'll wait here, you go back there, and I want you to have a look at that man. Have a look at how happy he is. All the hope and excitement in his voice. He doesn't know what's coming. Now here we are 5 months later. I've lost a stone. My kids hate me. My wife thought I was dead, but I guess that's what happens when you try to do the job of 50 people at the same time with no budget. Oh well, you live, you learn. So with that being the case, sadly, gentle viewer, if you want to see more than 2 of these things a year, I'm going to need to hire an editor. And for that, I need...
Coppers! Coppers! Spare an old man a copper, would ya? No? Oh well, typical innit? Oh, but you're here, my lovely, aren't you? Come with me. Come on. Oh, come in, lovely, come in. Oh, it's cold, innit? Oh, it's all right, this place, innit? Yeah, I found it after a night on the floor cleaner. Ironic, really. Some artist uses it, but when he chips off to bed, I come in here and warm me cuckles up, I do. Ooh. But I need bread, you see. Me children, they need gin. Oh, could you find it in your heart to bless an old man with a copper or 2? Throw a coin in me hat at the new Dark Room Minis Patreon, and you too will be blessed with the smug sense of self-satisfaction that comes from helping the destitute and the downtrodden. What's that you say? Oh, not the charitable type? Oh, more of a merchant, are we? The transactional type, is it? Well, come here, my lovely. 'Cause in my explorations in this strange cave behind me, I found wondrous things. Abstract strangeness beyond the human imagination. It's something called the Dark Room STL Vault, and it's where they keep all of the original sculpts that this weirdo puts in his videos. All of them can be yours, but you must cross my barb with silver, you must. Go on, cross me palm with silver. So what are you waiting for? Get your peepers over to Dark Room Minis on Patreon and become a patron of the arts. Don't leave me with no but crust. Don't let me nippers sober up. Go on, chuck us a coin. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah, speaking of thank yous, I actually have an inordinate amount of them to do because although I've been minging on for the last 10 minutes about how awful it was that I had to do all of this on my own, that's actually not the case. And I've been helped by a fantastic number of people during the course of this video, not least amongst them my two fantastic contributors, Adeptus Erectus and Derek Wobblechops. Yeah, that would be Tom over at Beyond the Boxer and my buddy Zach from back in the day respectively. You can find Tom over at Beyond the Boxer on YouTube, also the Mini Mad Cat. Go and add it up, follow it up, subscribe it. He's also streaming on Twitch pretty much every day and is a fantastic miniature painter. So if you're looking for a commission and you're too scared to come to get one from me, which I don't blame you to be honest with you, go hit Tom up because the man is an artist, a true artist and a true friend. And you can catch Zach working as a crisis actor near you very, very soon. Absolutely smashed it out of the park, brother. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I've got to say a huge thank you as well to my son Sebastian, who did that advert so well, didn't he? Love it. Well done, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Got to say thank you to all of the kids, really, because they've all had a little go doing a skit or a little cutaway in this. A huge thank you to my wife, who ably provided the voicing for Wendy Deng's horrific diary. So appreciate that, darling. Thank you. And thank you for just listening to me bang on about this crap for 6 months. I'm sure it wasn't fun, but you do it because you love me, don't you, sweetheart? As ever, got to say an absolutely massive thank you to Spear Miniatures for his amazing sculpt work on this project. This is actually the first thing that Spear ever did for me, so it's good to finally get round and actually paint it. Yeah, I've actually decided to put the next 2 sculpts that me and Spear have worked on in the STL vault ahead of their videos being made. So if you want to check out an awesome sculpt of Hatemonger and Amelia respectively, that'll be in the STL vault, so go and snaffle them up. But go check out his other stuff on Colts 3D. There's sure to be something there that will keep your paintbrush very, very busy. So big up Spear Miniatures. And I also have to say a huge shout out to all the chaps over at Space King Globule Posting on Facebook. We've somehow reached 30,000 members over there, which has become a bit of an exercise in herding cats. So a huge thank you to all the moderation staff over there, and a huge thank you to all the meme lords. It's been fantastic. What I've done with the space basically is just say that you can basically say whatever you want. You know, if you watch my previous video on the politics of painting, you'll understand that I do not have issues with people voicing their thoughts. I just want them to do it through the medium of art and be a bit clever about it. So if you like a spicy meme and not easily offended, come join us on Space King Globule Posting on Facebook. Thank you to Millie Paints and Brushforhire over on Twitch. Sorry for accosting you like that, but you lot can actually go and apologise on my behalf by heading over to Twitch right now and hitting that follow button and just saying Darkroom says he's sorry. A huge thank you as well to my buddy Nicky for providing the unsigned drum and bass music that you heard halfway through the video. Me and Nicky have been working on a few side quests together as well, so if you like a bit of drum and bass, get yourself over to Live Lab Records and check out some of the video projects we've been doing over there. And of course, as ever, the biggest thank you goes to you, gentle viewer, for being insane enough to sit through damn near an hour of this drivel. We're about to hit 2,000 subscribers on the channel now, which after a year and a half I don't feel like is too bad. So a huge thank you to everybody that's watched the videos, liked, commented, shared them up. It's so important for the channel, and huge love to everybody that's done that. And yeah, we're just going to keep carrying on painting weird shit on the internet. So if you like weird shit on the internet, hit that subscribe button and the next delivery of weird shit will be straight to your door, friend. So yeah, thank you, bye, thank you, bye, thank you, bye. And that's it, I suppose. Please get in touch for a commission if you dare. And just to reiterate, let's not assume for 1 second that this has gone away because they've made some BS announcement in the press. This is still absolutely being put together behind the scenes, and you watch, mate. Next time something absolutely awful happens in this country, they'll be there and they'll have it all ready and waiting. Oh, and it was nice to see Donald Trump welcome Tony Blair onto the Gaza border peace, wasn't it? That's the organisation that has the hardest working air quotes of any in human history, I'm quite sure. Don't worry though, I'm sure once he's gorged himself on souls, he'll slink off into the night once again, patiently waiting for Ascension Day. Stay frosty out there, people, and I'll see you next time in the dark room.